of the many people who are constantly feeling run down, even though you do your best to maintain a good diet and you exercise? Do you feel like you get up and go, got and went? Well, perhaps you're not getting to the root of the problem.
That's right. Dr. Kristen Campbell, though, is here to discuss how treating the source of the problem and not the symptoms can make the difference in the quality of your overall health. It's about time you came back.
Well, good to see you guys.
It's wonderful to have you back on the show. You know, and I think we all at times feel that, you know, our get up and go got up and went away from us. And what's normal? At one point, should we maybe begin to feel that?
Well, Mark, all of us are going to have those days where we just get up and we go, well, I'm just tired today and I'm just not feeling myself. But it's those viewers out there today that are watching the show that go, I feel like that more on a consistent basis that really need to tune in here. And in fact, I got an email from one of my patients last week, Nancy in Fort Collins, who said it perfectly. She said, what is the relationship between stress and low energy and this belly fat that I have? And you know, what is the correlation there, and what can you explain about the adrenal glands? And that's what I wanted to bring to the viewers today.
Okay, well, first off, explain the basic function of the glands.
That's a great question, Denise, because I don't think a lot of people understand what the adrenal glands are. This is probably the first time they've heard the word. So let's just do some basic review. The adrenal glands produce some sex hormones, so they're going to produce your testosterone and your estrogen. If your adrenal glands aren't working well, you're going to have decreased hormones. It's also responsible for your blood sugar management. If it's not working well, you're going to have problems that lead to things like diabetes. Your adrenal glands are also responsible for something called your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is what manages your sleep and wake cycles. So if your adrenal glands aren't functioning well, you're having problems with your waking up, going to sleep, and staying asleep. So as you can see, this hormone, or this gland is extremely important in all of its production. And the way that you'll remember adrenal glands is by the most important hormone it produces, which is called adrenaline, and that's our body's response to stress.
You betcha. All right, so speaking of stress, how is stress and the adrenal gland related?
Well, Mark, one thing I'd want to clarify first is a lot of people think of stress as the emotional stress. There's three kinds of stress, really. There's the physical stress, which can be put on us by, you know, overworking out, you know. There's also the chemical stress, which could be poor nutrition or pollution or environmental. And then there's the emotional stress we're all familiar with. And I believe we brought along a clip today that the viewers are going to be able to take a look at here. What they're looking at here is just a very simplistic diagram. What happens in our bodies is stress causes the adrenal glands to produce cortisol, which is a hormone. That also increases your insulin. Those two hormones together tell your brain to stop eating, because when you eat food, it increases those two hormones and it says, you know what, let's stop eating.
My brain never tells me to stop eating.
I was going to say, whoo.
Well, Mark, you may have just proved my point, because what happens is if you're stressed chronically, you're constantly producing cortisol and insulin, which you'll see that last little slide there, the third section, is something called leptin. Leptin is the hormone that's telling our brains, you know what, you're full, Mark, no more. Well, if it's stopped working, the body says, man, we need to produce more leptin. Well, leptin comes from fat cells. So your fat cells are stimulated again and again and again. And so you create this vicious cycle of where you are increasing your stress, you're eating more, you're not able to tell your body to stop, and you're producing more fat. And that's why it's not people's faults.
I thought it was the zingers. I had no idea it was this.
The light bulb has gone on.
I know. But seriously, do you see a pattern with your patients?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the adrenal glands are not the problem to everything. I mean, there are zingers can cause some issues.
Of course.
For the most part, if you have some patients, most commonly what I'm seeing is, and this is what I would tell the audience today, is if you experience you know, if you do have the belly fat that's been unresolved with diet and exercise, that's a gimme. If you have abnormal sleep-wake cycles or you feel groggy when you wake up after a full night's sleep. If you're one of those people in Starbucks line at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or you have to have some type of caffeine during the day to get you through, that's usually another marker. And one of my favorites that's kind of not as obvious is those people who have a bag full of vitamins and supplements that sit at home that have never done anything for them. That's a great indicator that there's something off in that energy cycle that they're looking at.
Okay, so how do you test to see if the adrenal gland is operating the way it's supposed to?
Well, that's the beauty of what I do, Mark. what we're really looking at is we're getting to the detail of what's wrong. So it's a saliva test. It's very simple to do. In fact, you just send it home with my patients, and they do it in the comfort of their home because I'm testing it throughout the day because it is a cycle. So you do want to see the levels during the day. You send it off, and I usually get my results back in a week. So the good thing is that it's hard black and white numbers. You know, there's no guesswork. There's no, well, maybe this is an issue with you. It's, we can look at it, and then we can retest it to make sure that the changes that we've made in your life, and sometimes they're very simple changes, sometimes it does require a little bit more work on both of our parts to go ahead and see those numbers change when we're done.
Wow.
And you're obviously passionate about this. You have a personal story that you want to share.
Well, several years ago, I do. My mom was struggling with a multitude of health issues, and we started really investigating and doing a thorough job with what was going on. And we determined that she did have an adrenal gland dysfunction. Now, the dysfunction wasn't pathologic, meaning she needed some operation. Really, the function of it just wasn't working, and it was causing havoc in these various organ systems. So what we did is we went in and started to correct that. When my mom first saw me and we went under treatment, she weighed 155 pounds, and she's 5'4". Within 3 months, she started noticing significant change, and within 6, she had exited the program, and she weighed 126 pounds.
Wow.
She had her energy back. I mean, that was the big thing. Her energy back.
That's spectacular.
Her personality back. You know, when you see her in the office, it's great to have her tell the story because she's more excited than I am, and that was a year and a half ago.
Wow.
I mean, she hasn't had to do anything since then. This has all been maintained since then.
All right, so you mentioned this saliva test, and that's something they'll do, but go through what the initial consultation, when they come in and see you at your office, what's that look like, besides the test?
The biggest thing is I do require the first few visits to be in person, because the one thing that I believe in my office is responsibility for your health care and quality of health care. I don't accept every case in the office because, frankly, we can't help everybody in the office. But if this is a case that we can, I can tell you what you're not going to get. You're not going to get another doctor just brushing you off saying, well, you need to take out the carbs and you need to exercise more and you need to decrease stress. Because let's all face it, those things aren't going to happen. Not in today's world. And too many people are taking it out, you know, at work. They're frustrated, and, you know, and their kids, they're stressed out. And so what we're going to do is just really do a thorough job and offer quality health care.
Finally, a doctor who says you don't have to give up carbs. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on the show today.
And again, take the first steps to the road of recovery and wellness. Dr. Kristen Campbell has reserved 20 free initial consultations for Colorado and Company viewers. That's you. And that's a $245 value. And for all of Colorado and Company viewers who qualify for treatment and are accepted into the program, they will receive a free 1-hour massage. Call today to make your appointment. You can contact Dr. Kristen Campbell at 303-974-1090, 303-974-1090, and Dr. Kristen Campbell paid for the